Sometimes having great audio just means having a microphone in close proximity to your face, but the problem with that is it can also get in the way, it can sort of be a hassle, and of course, it can block the moneymaker. Can't have that happening. So what if I told you it'd be possible to get great audio without having a microphone in the frame? Boom! Would that blow your mind? Because a boom? So here's a very common issue that I think a lot of people who do YouTube and streaming struggle with, myself very much included. You want really good audio, and you invest in a microphone, and you put that microphone in front of your face, and it sounds great. But sometimes this just doesn't work, and so you might find yourself trying to find a solution that doesn't involve having a microphone in your frame. And the very first thing a lot of us do is decide, okay, I'm gonna go get a shotgun microphone. And then we go get a shotgun microphone and we put it up out of frame and it sounds not good. So let's talk about that and talk about some microphones you can use out of frame to sound almost just as good as having a microphone right in front of your face. Now, first and foremost, this video is mainly gonna be about the Sennheiser MKH 50, which is just out of frame over here. This is a microphone that Sennheiser let me borrow a couple months ago because I reached out to them and I asked about having a setup where I could get high quality audio without needing a microphone in the frame. And ultimately for my specific setup, which I think kind of mirrors a lot of people, the MKH 50, which has been around for like 30 years, just sort of was the best choice. And the more that I've been experimenting with it and using it and making videos with it, the more I've really come to like it. So much so that this video is not sponsored, but I told Sennheiser how much I liked this microphone and I was just so excited about it. And then they said I could keep it, which was not the original plan. So for this whole video, including the intro when I had the mic in front of my face, you've been listening to the Sennheiser MKH 50. It is an incredibly great super cardioid, ultra directional microphone with an incredible amount of reach. And I think a lot of times when people buy shotgun microphones, what we expect, again, myself included, is you get a big long shotgun microphone like this and you think it's gonna just sort of dial in and like pick up sound from really far away and just sort of suck up and absorb that sound and make it sound crystal clear. And that's not what happens. And sometimes they actually sound kind of bad, not because there's anything wrong with the microphone, but because it's not being used correctly, or it might not be the right microphone for a specific application. The thing I have been using for a really long time is the Rode VideoMic NTG, and I really love this microphone. It's significantly more affordable than the Sennheiser MKH 50. It can plug in directly to your camera's 3.5mm jack. It can also be used as a USB-C microphone. Has a physical gain dial on the back, which is one of my favorite features ever. In fact, this is the Sennheiser MKH 50, and this is the Rode VideoMic NTG. Using both of these microphones together, I was actually very impressed with how well the Rode held up. This is just such a good microphone, and with an MSRP of $250, it's a really good deal. Like, you cannot go wrong with the VideoMic NTG. I've been using it for years at this point, and I've worked to try to sound treat this specific room, which has carpeted floors, whole bunch of stuff in here that's absorbing sound. I do have some professional level sound panels, just a couple of them to kind of help with some of the reverb. And I think that the VideoMic NTG sounds pretty darn good. However, since I make a lot of videos and I use the microphone a lot and I listen to myself a lot on the microphone, I start to notice all the little things that bother me. And the thing about the VideoMic NTG is that even though I think it sounds awesome, and sometimes I'll put it into Adobe Audition to add in some EQ to make it sound even better, sometimes it just sort of has like a reverby sound. It's sort of picking up more sound from the room. You can see it has these vents and things right here on the side, as is the case with many shotgun microphones that have openings in the side. And guess what happens when there's openings in the side of a microphone? Sound comes in from the side. So that means this microphone, while it is a directional microphone that's picking up stuff mostly positioned in front of it, it's also picking up a little bit more from all around it. The Sennheiser MKH 50, if you look at that microphone, it has nothing on the side. It just has a capsule at the very end, and it is a super sensitive, super directional microphone. Even if I go off axis just a little bit, you probably know that the sound changes pretty significantly, as opposed to when I'm right under the MKH 50 and it's pointed directly at my chest. This is an incredibly popular microphone for movies and TV shows. If you watch behind the scenes footage, you will see boom operators using this microphone all the time. It's pretty small and compact, but it is very powerful. And even though I've heard claims about the MKH50 being used professionally for many years, I kind of wanted to check it out for myself, and thankfully through the magic of the internet, I was able to do exactly that. So I reached out to Alan from the YouTube channel SoundSpeeds, and he also just happens to be a professional sound guy for movies and TV shows, and this is some of what he had to say about the MKH50.
It's probably one of the most commonly used microphones on film sets today, but because it has an extended low end and you can get farther away from talent, sometimes that's necessary for a wide shot. If they're doing a wide and a tight, like you have me kind of in a tight right now, but it could be a wide shot and there'd be, you know, 1.5 feet of headroom. And that microphone that you use for that shot should also match your close-up footage as well.
If somebody were going to use the MKH50 in a YouTube streaming setup, how would you recommend that they do so? Or would you even recommend that they do so?
Well, there's a lot of catches there. A very high quality, very detailed microphone is going to pick up what it is introduced to. It's a sum of all the sounds that comes into that microphone. A microphone is a sum of all the frequencies around it coming into it based on the polar pattern. If you point it into an environment that is well treated for sound, it'll pick up great. But if it's not well treated for sound, you're going to be picking up and it's going to be emphasizing all the flaws in the acoustics of your room. So people that want to use the 50 have to be very careful with how they position it and what they do with it in order to get ideal sound out of it.
For somebody looking at the 416 versus the 50, what would you recommend? Or do you have like, I don't know why anyone's using any of these. If someone's doing YouTube and streaming and they want a mic out of frame, they should use...
You have to go by your ear. What sounds good to you? A lot of people love the sound of the 416 in vocal booths. The microphone I'm using right now here that you're listening to me on is only a microphone that's only 40 pounds. You can get this for 40 pounds from Thomann in the UK or Germany, wherever you know Thomann happens to be. This is just the T-Bone SC400. In this environment, I've tried everything from the DPA 4017B and the new Rycote HC22 model to the Deity S-Mic 2. I've used various different shotguns. I've used large diaphragms, the NT1, for example. And the one that I keep coming back to, despite me leaving it and coming back, is always this 40-pound microphone, which is like $50. Booth junkie Mike Delgaudio has been very vocal about one of the things that he believes in is that if you have a $1,000 budget, you spend $800 treating your environment and $200 on the microphone. If you do something like that and spend about $20 or 20% of that towards your actual microphone and the rest of it is in your environment, until your environment is well treated, then you're going to end up better than it would be if you didn't treat it and you then got yourself the highest quality microphone.
Alan provided a lot of great info and sound advice during our chat, so I'm going to put the full interview up as a special benefit for YouTube channel members and Patreon supporters. But of course, you can always check out Alan's channel for tons of free, awesome information. So back on the VideoMic NTG, I wanted something that sounded good like this, but had a little less of the reverb and the room sound, the environmental sound. I've had and used XLR shotgun microphones for many years, but the problem for me and my workflow is exactly what I just said, XLR shotgun microphones. While they are excellent for sound quality, it's sort of tedious to just have a second recorder, and I know that's a very first world problem. So if I want to use one of these, I run it into the Rodecaster Pro, press record, take my audio file, take my video file, sync them up. It's not difficult, but it's just like one extra thing to do. If the VideoMic NTG can sound pretty good while running directly into the camera, I'm going to use that, even if it doesn't sound necessarily quite as good as something like the MKH50. But what changed things for me was getting this camera right here, which is the Sony FX3. The FX3 has a built-in audio handle with 2 XLR ports that provide phantom power, and that means I can run the MKH50 directly into my camera, and then I get high-quality audio that's automatically synced to my video footage, and I don't have to do any separate external recording or anything like that. So I've been using the MKH50 on the last 4 or 5 videos before this one, and I've also been using it on a bunch of, video calls and meetings and things like that, and it's really sounding awesome. Now this is the Deity S-Mic 2, which is a shotgun microphone that can work really well for talking head setups like this. So let's get this one connected and I'll compare it to the MKH50 in here, and then we'll go outside and compare it out there. All right, so now I've got 3 microphones overhead, positioned as closely as I can kind of get them. I've got this one here, which is the Rode VideoMic NTG, and it retails for about $250. I've got this one, which is the Sennheiser MKH 50, and that retails for about $1,200. And I've got this one, which is the Deity S-Mic 2, and that retails for about $550. So we've got sort of low, medium, and high-end prices right here. And now we're back on the Sennheiser MKH 50 with none of these have any processing or anything like that. They're just running directly into the camera. And this is the Deity S-Mic 2, which is, again, a great shotgun microphone, but it's probably not in its most ideal environment. And you should be able to hear quite a lot more reverb, which is basically the sound waves bouncing around in this room and making it sound kind of just sort of bigger and boomier, versus the Sennheiser MKH 50, where things should sound a little more crisp and clean and maybe even a bit more like isolated. But as I've mentioned, even though this isn't the perfect audio environment, I have worked really hard to make it decent. So this probably isn't the best, like, difficult test for these microphones. So let's put these in a much less sound-friendly environment to see what it sounds like when we amplify the differences a little bit more. And so this is a very scientific test using all three microphones right now. And just to hear how different they are, the difference between them, they're positioned at a terrible distance away from me. Way too far, as a matter of fact. But at least now maybe you can hear some of the extreme differences between this microphone, which is the Sennheiser MKH 50, this one right here, which is the Deity S-Mic 2, and of course the Rode VideoMic NTG. Now, since we're also outside, let's position them a little better and see if they sound a little better. Okay, so now they should be a little closer to me. Again, this one right now they're listening to is a Sennheiser MKH 50. This one right here is the Deity S-Mic 2. And this one over here is the Rode VideoMic NTG. NTG whiz. Which one sounds best? Outdoors, not sound treated, planes and sounds and stuff just everywhere. But hopefully you can hear just sort of the difference in quality between all of these different microphones. Now, of course, it kind of goes without saying that the MKH 50, especially coming from a brand like Sennheiser and at its price point, is incredibly well built. It is a professional level microphone, so it's made to be durable. It's made to stand up to regular use and wear and tear. It's built incredibly well. It does have two controls on the side of the microphone. One of the options is what they call a switchable roll-off filter, which is basically to compensate for the proximity effect if the microphone is really close to somebody. So this is without that roll-off filter turned on, and this is with that roll-off filter turned on, so you should notice a little bit less low end. So again, this is now with that roll-off filter, and this is without it. This is the default setting, which I think sounds fantastic. And the other switch is also a pad to help you kind of reduce some of the input, because this is such a sensitive microphone. So if you're finding that you're using it close to somebody and it's just still like peaking and clipping and going crazy, you can turn down the other switch, which will reduce things by 10 decibels. The VideoMic Pro has something very similar, so you should have noticed the sound get a bit quieter. And then when I put it back, now you should hear the sound back kind of to its default level. I didn't change anything in Final Cut when I changed those levels. Now, the purpose of this video was not to just talk about the Sennheiser MKH 50, but it was to really talk about a mistake that I think I see a lot, and that is people just going out and grabbing shotgun microphones, kind of any shotgun microphone, when they decide that they want high quality audio without a microphone in the frame, and then the audio doesn't sound as good as they want it to. And I think that they might have been better suited with something like the MKH 50. Now, if you don't have the budget for this, you could look into other pencil condenser microphones, which still means that they're incredibly sensitive, but they don't have all these vents on the side of the microphone to pick up sound. They've only got the opening right in the front, and then they're going to be a little more directional and a little more sensitive and have a little more reach. But as somebody who has purchased a bunch of different microphones trying to achieve this, at this point, I have spent more than it would have cost to just get the MKH 50 right off the bat, because I actually didn't know it was even an option. And so pointing out what might be the best tool for the job, if this is the kind of thing you're going for, I thought might be really important. And sometimes you do just need to make that investment in a professional piece of gear that's going to last a lifetime. Speaking of things that last a lifetime, I have a lifetime's worth of gratitude for everybody who helps support my channel on Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. Thank you as always. And if you're interested in Sennheiser MKH 50, but you still have some questions about which microphone might be best for you, check out this playlist right here of mic reviews and comparisons that are beyond compare.